Since you guys think I was the literal worst friend on the planet in high school after that last story time, let me tell you about a time in high school I physically defended and protected my best friend against a gross guy at a party. And yes, I was homeschooled, but I was a part of this homeschool group, so that's how I was invited to all these parties and had friends. They were not like normal high school parties though. I didn't experience that till senior year. So at this particular party, I was probably 15 or 16 at the time, and it was at my friend's house. So parents everywhere, no drinking, nothing like that. And one of the guys there, we're gonna call him Cole, but he basically hit on every single female there was. Doesn't matter whether or not you're single, this dude did not care. And it wasn't even like a normal way. It was like he would just make super like perverted innuendos and jokes. I would just say like gross things to me and my friends. Dude was not pulling anybody with that. He would do this to me too, knowing that I wasn't single. What you need to know is I was pretty much already at my wit's end with this guy. So back to the party. It was a pool party, so we're all like in our swimsuits. On this particular night, this dude had like no chill. He just would not stop saying like the grossest stuff to me and my friends. His friend, who was a part of our group, was just sitting there laughing, like not defending any of us. And I was looking at him like, dude, get a grip on your friend. And if you're wondering, my parents weren't there, but like the parents that were there were all inside. They weren't catching any of this happening. And we were all like sitting outside by the pool. And I wish I could remember exactly what it was he said that pissed me off so much. But he said something to my best friend that was just like so rude and so gross. I could tell it upset her, and I was just like, no. So before I tell you what I did, keep in mind that to me this was not a big deal. I was like, something needs to be done about this and I'm gonna do it. I mean, sure, I could have used my words instead, but I just felt like it wouldn't have as big of an impact. So there was a bowl of cupcakes like right next to us, and they all had like a ton of frosting on them. They were like big cupcakes. So I grabbed one and I smashed it in his face. I thought everyone was gonna laugh and then he was gonna get the message and stop being gross. Well, my friends laughed, but he was really mad, like mad. So he looks up at me with this look that literally like gives me chills. In that moment, I was like, he is about to actually beat my ass. I have never seen rage like that to this day. I was terrified. So I did what any sane person would do, and I ran. I ran inside, locked myself in the bathroom, and then contemplated what the hell I was gonna do next. I also knew it was only a matter of time before all the parents found out about it, which I still thought shouldn't be that big of a deal. So like 10 minutes later, I'm like sitting on the bathroom floor contemplating what to do. And one of my friends walks in, and she was like, Jessie, why would you do that? And I was like, because he was being gross to my best friend, and she turned him down, and he needed to stop. And she was like, yeah, well, now all the parents know, and they're all mad at you. And I was like, why? I don't know what just happened when I did my eyeliner, but I did my eyes in like 2 different styles by accident. Now my eyes look so lopsided. Anyways, I was like, why? If anything, they should be mad at Cole because he was the one being gross to all the girls. But apparently the parents didn't care about that. So I finally come out of the bathroom, and it's like super awkward in the kitchen. Cole is standing in there too, and he looks super pissed at me, but he's like not doing anything because the parents are around. And I'm like, great, obviously they're all on his side because he talked to all the parents first, which I wasn't even planning on doing. Like, I didn't think this was such a big deal. And I go home and I'm talking to my parents about it, and I'm like, this is what happened, and now all of my friends' parents are like mad at me. And my mom was like, well, you know, you probably shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, true, I could have used my words, whatever. And she's like, but he had it coming. And my dad just laughs his ass off, and he gives me a fist bump, and he's like, nice. Anyway, I thought the whole situation was blown out of proportion. In my mind, I was like, it's just a damn cupcake. I knew there was other ways I could have gone about defending my friend, but I thought it was funny. I want to know what you guys think though. Did I go too far, or was that situation really blown out of proportion? Oh, and the next time I saw him, I was so scared he was gonna beat me up, but guess what he did instead? Guess.
My ex-wife came out as lesbian and left me and my daughters 3 years ago, and now she's back. 3 years ago, my wife came out as lesbian. We've been together for many years. In fact, our oldest daughter was 14 at the time, and my youngest was 10. Our life was good. Both me and my wife worked, so we had stable finances, and I thought we were happy. This was until one evening my wife sat us down and explained that she was in love with a female colleague from her workplace, and she wants to be with her. She said she was sorry, but she had to find out who she was, and that the only way that would be possible is if she left her old life behind. The typical breakup nonsense. On that day, she left us and cut contact. For me and my daughters, the world fell apart. I knew that I now had to take care of my daughters all by myself. I was in a state of depression for a long time, and I kept fighting for my daughters. Every attempt to contact my ex-wife failed. Luckily, I found a much better paying job that made it possible for me to give them the world. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my daughters and I sat in the living room, and I told them that because Christmas month was already next month, they should write down what they want for Christmas. My oldest daughter is now 17, and my youngest is now 13. While they were busy writing, the doorbell rang, and I wondered who it was. When I opened the front door, I froze in shock. It was my ex-wife with a big smile on her face. She said she was happy to see me, and she tried to hug me, but I refused to hug her. My oldest daughter then came up behind me and asked who it was. And when she saw it was her mother, her face expression immediately changed. I've never seen her so angry. My ex-wife tried to apologize and she wanted to hug her, but my daughter pushed her away and shouted at her to leave and that she never ever wants to see her again. Then my youngest daughter also joined us. She got angry too, turned around and went to her bedroom. Then my oldest one followed her to comfort her. I just hope she leaves us alone. My daughters made it very clear that they don't want to have anything to do with her. I wanted to give them the opportunity to meet their mother again, because if there is any chance that my children have a mother again, I don't want to stay in their way. But I'm glad they didn't give her the chance. I don't know if it makes me a bad person to think this, but I also don't think that my ex-wife deserves to be with her daughters again. So I hope that the last encounter delivered the message.
Get ready with me while I tell you how I got arrested at 13 years old. So to give you a little backstory, I'm in 8th grade going to the mall with my friends. So at this point in my life, I'm just fully in my shoplifting era. And I know that sounds bad, and that's because it really is. But I was going to the mall like every single weekend, having my parents drop me off, going into stores and just fucking stealing shit. And the number one thing I would steal would be makeup. And I would justify it by saying, I'm only in 8th grade, I want to do makeup, I can't afford that shit, because it's $40 a palette. But at the end of the day, I was really just doing it because I loved that little adrenaline rush it gave me. So anyways, there I am pulling up to the mall in my fucking purple highlighter that I had just stolen the weekend before, my fucking French tip press-on nails. So of course I make my friends go with me to Sephora, and I'm like, if there's anything you want, just let me know. Like, I'm so fucking good at stealing, like whatever you want, no matter the price, I will get it for you. And my strategy was to go to another store, get a big bag, like buy a shirt or something, and then go to Sephora and put all the shit in that bag. But here's the kicker, I would always make sure to buy something from Sephora too, like the cheapest thing I could find, so that if they were sus of me, then they could be like, oh, okay, he was actually just looking, he really did buy something. And mind you, I had been to this specific Sephora and stolen probably like 5 or 6 times before, but I had only stolen like $100, $200 worth of thing only. So of course this time I was like, I've never been caught before, let me just pop off right now. Like, be fucking for real, they're gonna catch on eventually. So there I am, throwing like YSL Beauty, Dior Beauty shit into my bag, going on a fucking shopping spree around the whole store. My friends are giving me stuff to put in my bag, like everything. We are popping off. And there I am thinking like, this is about to be the biggest slay of my life. I'm about to hook all my friends up. And so finally, after we're like, okay, that's enough, we're good, I go and find like a $10, $12 face mask. I go to the register, fully check out and everything. I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to get away with this again. So we're walking out. I'm not even thinking about getting caught. Like, that idea has left my mind. Like, the adrenaline rush is still there, but I'm like, I'm home free, I'm good. We get fully out of the Sephora. So we're like walking away now, and this fucking security guard comes fully sprinting out of Sephora, and he's like, whoa, 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 wait, you gotta come with me, you gotta come with me. And I'm like, fuck. And to be honest, at this point, I'm out of the store. I probably should have just fucking ran, but I was fucking terrified. Like, I'm a 13-year-old little gay boy. What am I gonna do? Like, fight a fucking security guard? So like the OG I am, I save my friends. I'm like, okay, they didn't steal anything. I'll come with you, but like, you can check their bags. They did not steal anything because they had me steal all of it for them, but I digress. So they take me to the back room, empty out my bags, lay out every single product I stole on the ground. They have me call my mother, and she immediately, when I tell her, starts screaming at me. And you want to know the subtotal of everything I stole? Make your guesses in the comments, because I'm sure you won't get it. $1,565 worth of shit. And in case you don't know, that's a full felony. Go to part 2 to see what happens after. Get ready with me while I tell you how I got arrested at 13 years old, part 2. If you want to be caught up on the story, make sure you go watch part 1 first. So there I am, sitting in the back room of the Sephora, basically just being told, you just committed a fucking felony, and we have to take you down to the station. And naturally, I'm fucking shitting bricks at this point. I'm like, holy shit, my life is over. Like, I'm going to jail. I'm only fucking 13 years old. Like, I'm literally going to juvie. So then they do the whole 9, put me in full handcuffs, walk me through the store. Everyone's staring. I'm like smiling like Paris Hilton, like when she got arrested. They take me through the entire mall in handcuffs until finally we get to the police car. They throw me in the back. And by the way, did anybody else know that the back of police cars are plastic seats? Like, I was so uncomfortable in that bitch. Me worried about my comfortability after committing a felony. So there I am in the back of this police car, biting off my press-on nail. Because I'm like, if I know one fucking thing, I know that gays are not treated well in jail. Let me get these off fucking immediately. Like, fully trying to scrub off any trace of makeup I had on my face. Can we just appreciate this glitter really quick? Like, are you kidding? I'm like chatting it up with this officer too. He's like, what are your pronouns? Like, is that really what you should be worried about right now? Like, thank you, I appreciate it, but He's like trying to calm me down from crying. I'm fully inconsolable. So finally, we arrive at the police station. They bring me to this back room, like this full interrogation room, where my mother was waiting for me. And I don't know if you guys have ever disappointed your mom, like, so bad. The look in their eyes, like, I made eye contact with her and I wanted to melt into the floor. So this officer comes in, and thankfully, he was basically like, we're gonna put a warning on your record, but it'll go away after 30 days, and it's only from this precinct. Which is basically like the best case scenario for what could have happened. So I'm very fucking thankful for that. But I was like, oh no, the battle's not over yet. Now I have to go home and deal with my mother. And the way we sat in complete silence on the way home from that police station was truly terrifying. So we get home, she's basically on the verge of fucking murdering me. Rightfully so. I was grounded for 3 full months, had my phone taken away, obviously immediately. And she didn't trust me to go anywhere fully by myself for probably like 2 full years after that. Like shit, I'm 20 and I'm still gaining her trust back. So moral of the story, don't steal. And if you do, don't be fucking dumb about it.
Am I the arsehole for telling my brother that his pregnancy announcement is trashy? Story time! So my family has this gifting program where if you sign up, you have to spend £21 on whoever you get in the little system. It's like a whole thing. There's a Google Doc with all of people's sizes, any snacks they like, any allergies, that type of thing. We do this every year, and when the kids go to sleep, we all do the gifting. My brother Steve and his girlfriend Amy both signed up to be on this list. And on this specific day, they had asked to go last because they had something that they would like to open all together. Literally everybody followed the assignments on the list. Steve and Amy spent approximately £5 per person. So everybody opened their gifts, it was going really, really well, and then it came to Amy and Steve's turn. We all opened the gift to find a picture frame with a sonogram in it. And this picture frame was maximum £2, like it was not expensive at all. And then on the back of the picture frame, there was a note that says £35 has been donated to our baby when it arrives. And I'm not gonna lie, the photo frame wasn't even nice. It was so tacky, and it had these like puffy like letters on the front that says Baby Bella 2024. So they had essentially not gotten us a gift, but had donated money to their own baby in our name. We obviously said congratulations and then spoke about the baby for a little bit. So then my dad was like, should we get this exchange all finished then? It started to get really, really late at this point, and he needed to get home because he'd got work the next day. So he turned to Amy and was like, do you want to go get the rest of your presents? And that was when Steve turned around and was like, that was the gift. And at that point, the vibe dropped. Steve got up and went to the toilet, and my dad went after him. We all did that awkward thing where we just sat in silence, and we could hear them having this raging argument in the hallway. And at that point, Steve just stormed out. My dad was seething. He was so angry. I've actually never seen him that angry before. He was like, this is absolute bullshit. Everyone can take their gifts back that they got Steve and Amy because I'm not having this. He was like, they knew exactly what they were doing this whole time. And a few people actually did take their gifts back, and then they all left. But most of us just sat there until everything calmed down, and then we went home. So a few days go by and I hear nothing from Steve or Amy. And then out of nowhere, Steve turns up at my house with a gift, and he even apologized. Everything was literally fine until I asked how Amy was. And he was like, well, she's been crying for the past 2 days, so I'll let you guess that one. He then said, and pass a message on to Dad to say thank you for ruining our surprise. He then went on to ask if I liked the gift. I was like, nope. And he asked why, and I decided that I was just going to tell him the truth. I said that everybody else got you a real gift that they spent money on. I made it very clear that although it was a lovely gesture, that isn't the point of the gift exchange. I told him the way you did it felt cheap and tacky. And at that point, he walked away from me and called me an asshole. So what do you think? Am I wrong?
I finally updated my TikTok app, so now I could post a longer story time. So I'm gonna talk about something that happened a couple days ago, because I'm not even gonna lie, I'm kind of scared. So basically I had my Snapchat set to everybody could Snapchat me, even people that like I didn't have added back. In hindsight, I should never have had it set to that. So anyway, I get a Snapchat from a random person, and he's like, send me your Snapchat and phone number so I could send you money, with a smiley face. And I get DMs all the time on Instagram of people that just want to send me money on Cash App. So I was like, all right. I mean, what's the worst that could happen from me just sending, you know, my Cash App and phone number? Not a big deal, you know? That's what I thought. Don't ever think like that, because you will get caught up in something like I did. And I know I did this to myself, so I don't need to hear it in the comments like I was the dumb person in this equation. But anyway, he answers and sends me a screenshot of him sending me $1,600 on Cash App, but it said pending. So at first I was like, oh, bet, like, thanks. But then all of a sudden he starts spamming me saying, you need to send me $80
because we both need to put $80 each into the Bitcoin thing so that on Cash App it'll like give me the 1,600 and it'll send it to you, and then we both make 800 and like da 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 da. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, I did not agree to send you money to make money. Like, I was just saying, like, sure, you want to send me money? Like, I'll take some money. So anyway, he starts spamming my phone, being like, you're scamming me. That's messed up. Like, I trusted you. Da da da. I was like, obviously, you're a scammer. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm just gonna block you. And he was like, I know all your card information. Your card number starts with, and then he said these 4 digits. So then I got scared because I thought he actually knew my card number. So I was saying to him, hold on, I'm trying to set up my Apple Pay right now so I could pay you. I was like, my dad's helping me set up my Apple Pay, which he wasn't. I was on my way to the bank so that they could change my card number, just in case, you know, he actually had my information. So I go to the bank. Thank God I only live 7 minutes away from it. And I'm talking to the lady and I'm telling her what's happening, and I was kind of in panic mode. I was tearing up a little bit. I was just freaking out. And she was like, honey, like, all card numbers start with those 4 digits. She was like, it's so unlikely that he actually knows your information. Like, he's just saying that to scare you into sending him the money. And I was like, wait, really? And she was like, yeah, like, watch, I'm gonna send you a new card in the mail, and it's going to start with those 4 digits as well, because all cards that have been like made recently starts with those 4 digits. So I felt a little bit relieved, and then I blocked the guy. But I still continued to get messages from this guy. He told me that he works with the services, like he's in the Navy, and he sent me pictures of himself in his Navy uniform saying that he's gonna sue me and I'm gonna get in so much trouble and they're gonna take this to court because I scammed him. And he's like, I have all your card information, I'm gonna post it and spam it. Like, literally threatening me over $80. Like, it's so sad. Like, you really need $80 that bad? Bro.
Help for an old guy. I'm a widower who is approaching 80. My wife died about 1.5 years ago. We were married for over 50 years and I miss her very much. I live in a large retirement community, and I've recently received a note from a woman who lives here who told me she is done with me. I barely know this woman. We have had dinner twice. Once I was assigned to a table where she was sitting, and once she asked me to have dinner with her. I accepted. I suspect now that was a mistake. I'm not ready for a new relationship, and frankly, I doubt I ever will be. I think about my late wife every day. Sometimes I think about her every hour. I do not believe that I'm depressed. I can carry on with my daily life pretty well, actually. I keep busy. I have family in the area and I see them often. I manage my own affairs and I have other friends. I just do not want to deal with a female companion. I've been thinking of answering her note as politely as possible, explaining my situation, but I do not want to give her any hint that I'm trying to start a relationship. I just want to say I'm sorry if I offended her, but I meant no harm. It is just that I intend to go through life single from now on. Should I do this, or should I just ignore the letter and hope she goes away?
At the end of the day, my thoughts, my opinions, it's subjective. I don't always expect everyone to agree with what I have to say. I am just an overthinker, and sometimes I tune in just a little too hard about what is being said. I'm looking at people's body languages. I'm looking at how he's standing there at the altar. I'm listening to what he's actually saying, at the altar, making jokes with her family, saying, hey, like, what do you guys think of my appearance? Like, do you know, whatever he said.
By the way, is this where you guys, like, now that you see who I am, is it how we candidate? No, I told you. Thanks for your time.
In my opinion, he looked very unsure of himself. And in a way, it looked as though that he potentially knew that that was going to be a little too much. I'm looking at what he stated in the confessionals, where he said, I want my wife to be attracted to me. I'm very open to criticism. I'm very open to feedback if she feels as though there's something that she wants to change within myself.
I want my wife to be attracted to me. I want her to feel like comfortable enough to give me that input. Like, I don't like what you're wearing. I don't like how your hair is, you know, if you pop that nose ring up. Like, I'm open to feedback like that. But my biggest fear is when she sees me and lays eyes on me, if it's clear that maybe she's not really attracted to me or just...
I'm listening to that. I'm also thinking of the perspective of the wife, how she could be shitting balls, you know, nervous, because at the end of the day, she's never met this man before. She doesn't know his personality. She doesn't know when he's being serious. She doesn't know when he's joking around. She doesn't know. So she's coming down the altar and she's presented with this man wearing a crown and he has a sword. If it were me in this situation, I would think, oh my gosh, he's trying to be funny. And I don't find this funny. And then I saw some people stating, no, he should have dressed like that so she could see what she was getting herself into. I agree with that, and at the same time, not so much. And this is why. Sometimes, once you actually get to know the person, sometimes you can grow to love that person. At the end of the day, because it was cut off, like they never showed her, they never talked about that couple again, we don't know why the therapist felt as though they were a good fit for each other. She would have specifically stated something that she needed in a man for them to align her with him. And then he would have had to say something stated that he wanted in a woman for them to align her with him. Ooh, that was kind of confusing just for a moment in time. I personally think that had she gone through the experience, had she grown to really like him and saw why the therapist chose him for her, I think she possibly could have grown to accept his eccentric style. And that wouldn't have been a thing. Again, this is just speculation. It could have been a total shit show. We would have never known. But there are cases out there in the world where people don't necessarily like what they see up front, but they grow to like that person and they grow to accept that person. That's where I'm coming from.
This is what they meant when they said, don't talk to strangers. In the early 1900s, a 10-year-old boy was playing in the woods when a tall man appeared and asked if he wanted to come back to his cabin for dinner. Totally caught off guard, the boy reluctantly agrees and begins walking. When they get to the cabin, the boy is relieved when he sees Paul, a family friend, sitting on the porch, so the boy happily goes inside. After they eat, the boy says thank you to the strange tall man, says bye to Paul, and then he leaves. He had only walked a few steps when he sees his family, along with Paul, running up the path towards him, frantically asking if he was okay. Confused, the boy says, I'm just fine, and he looks at Paul and he's like, why didn't you tell them I was with you at the cabin? And he points over his shoulder. Paul glances over the boy's shoulder and then narrows his eyes and says, you were kidnapped by a cult 3 days ago. No one's seen you. Terrified, the boy turns around to look at the cabin he just came from, and it's gone. All he sees is a dark forest that stretches for miles.
Am I the asshole for demanding my husband to pay me the $1,000 he spent behind my back? My husband, 33, and I, 31, used to have a 2-income home, but in 2020, we've lost our home and one of our incomes, his. We moved into a smaller apartment, had to sell many things, and give up most of our costly habits. My husband has an expensive habit of going to the spa for a weekly massage session. We live in an urban area, so this stuff is ridiculously expensive. A single session is $250, and he has to have it every week, so that would be nearly $1,000 a month. I offered him to have his session at a regular spa, but no. He has to get it from that luxurious spa near the restaurant we used to go to, saying the lady who gives the massage is an expert and he's used to her. Problem is, I'm the only income earner, and I'm struggling to make ends meet. I'm also pregnant and need to save money to prepare a nursery. I told him to cut his sessions, but he refused. I told him I won't be paying for them anymore, and he said he'd get the money himself. Yesterday I checked and saw that he's been using my credit card for his sessions for a whole month and has maxed out completely. I found that out when I went shopping for baby essentials and the cashier said I had no money. I had to return everything, then went home and went off on him. I told him he maxed my card out and he made me look like an idiot at the store. He said he didn't tell me because he knew I'd have an issue with it. I demanded he pay me back the $1,000 he spent, but he refused. I yelled at him, calling him irresponsible, and he got upset and called me selfish and to stop playing victim, and that this is affecting us both since he's going to be a parent too, and it's stressful for him, and I keep dismissing his own needs as a human. I went upstairs and he went out. He started giving me silent, but I kept demanding the money back. He said I shouldn't expect it back since we're married, and that my money is technically his, and I should stop using his unemployment against him.
One of the jobs I had after graduating high school was working at the front desk of, let's just call it like a beauty service studio. And let me tell you, I thought working at a front desk would be the easiest job because all you have to do is check people in and also check them out and take their payments while they're leaving. Yeah, absolutely not. Don't get me wrong, it was actually a good job and the employees and managers were really nice, which is why I stayed there for 8 months. But the customers, if you want to deal with Karens all day, every day, go work at the front desk of a beauty service studio. Literally any of them. Yes, there were nice people too, but they were honestly like 2 out of every 10 people, and we're not here to talk about them. We're here to spill tea. So we were allowed to be on our phone at the front desk when we weren't doing anything. And I usually had an AirPod in like my right ear, but I would be covering it with my hair. And where my desk was sitting, I was like against the wall. So when people came in, they came in that way. I was fine, and I would always pause my music the second somebody came in. So this lady comes in, I pause my music before she even walks in. I check her in, I have her fill out all the forms. And then I told her that the employee that's gonna do her service today is gonna be right after her. So she's like, okay. And so she's waiting in the waiting room. The girl that's doing her service today comes out. Both of them walk over to like the area where we sell all of our products, which where they were standing and looking at products was like a good distance away from the front desk. And the employee was telling her about all the products and what she can use them for. And I knew after that she was about to take her back to go do her service. So I was out of the conversation. I was across the room. So I turned on my music in my AirPod because I had already introduced her to the employee, and she was in like the employee's hands now because that's how it worked there. So I wasn't listening to the conversation, and I wasn't aware of what the question was, but I was aware that she just asked the employee a question about one of the products. And right then I just tapped my phone to check the time because I didn't think she was talking to me because they were literally across the entire room. And then the lady screams across the room and she's like, excuse me, hello? Can you get off your phone and answer my question, please? And I immediately got up and walked over, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to her. The employee she was with that was showing her and telling her about the products. And then she goes, absolutely unacceptable. I'm gonna need you to show me how this product works now and then hold it up at the front desk for me. I literally felt so bad. I was like, again, I'm so sorry. Okay, so I did it and held it at the front desk for her. Even my coworker after the service was done was like, that lady was mean. That's not even the tip of the iceberg though. People used to lie about how their service went literally just to get it for free. And we don't just give out services for free like that because they are very expensive. So we'll offer to like rebook them and redo it. But since that's not what they wanted, they just wanted to not pay for their service. They would sit there and scream at me when they didn't get it. Or they would just walk out without paying and I would get in trouble for it. Or they would throw a literal temper tantrum, follow for part 2.
Am I the asshole for wearing a tight dress despite my friend asking me not to? I, 20 female, and my friends 22 female and 22 female are currently on vacation. For the sake of the story, I will call them L and K. L, K, and I decided that while we are on vacation for 1 week, we would go clubbing as much as possible. All my friends know that I have a feminine sense of style. My entire wardrobe consists of pink, miniskirts, dresses, heels, and lots of jewelry. Not once has this ever seemingly been a problem with my friends, at least none that was mentioned directly to me. When you go clubbing, most people tend to wear tight outfits, so my suitcase was packed with several outfits meant for clubbing. Last night, after spending our day by the pool, I started Googling clubbing places near us and broached the topic of starting our first night party. All seemed excited, so we all headed up to our room to start getting ready. I was just about done with my makeup and hair when I grabbed the dress I was planning on wearing, and suddenly the mood felt extremely sour. For sake of full clarity, it's a very short pink leather dress. Kay spoke up and mentioned that I should probably pick another outfit. I asked her why, and she said since we are all going together, none of us should try to outdo each other. I explained that I'm not trying to outdo anyone and just like my dress. Elle sided with her, saying that I was clearly trying to one-up the both of them. It was actually like a pick-me. I told them I'm wearing the dress no matter what, and I was sure they would look just as if not more beautiful than me in their outfits. They barely talked to me for the remainder of getting ready and split up from me the moment the Uber dropped us off. It's Tuesday, and they are still being cold and short with me. I kind of want to go home, but I'm curious if I'm being an overdramatic asshole. Am I the asshole?
Am I wrong for how I responded when my husband told his brother that he's lucky his wife is mute? My sister-in-law, my husband's brother's significant other, is mute. She's been happily married to my brother-in-law for 1 year, and I have been married to my husband for 5. We were invited to my mother-in-law's house for dinner a few days ago. I have to say, it was the weekend that I was too tired from working, looking after the kids, doing household chores, etc. But my husband insists on me being part of these weekly dinner gatherings. My brother-in-law came and brought his wife with him. We all sat at dinner and discussed many topics, and then my sister-in-law started using sign language with my brother-in-law. My husband was smirking for some reason, and then waited till they stopped, then turned to his brother and said, "Man, you're lucky your wife is mute. Your house must be so peaceful and quiet all the time, right? This is a blessing." He said this while locking eyes with me. My sister-in-law was stunned. They all stared at me awkwardly, like I knew he meant to say that I was loud and noisy at home, which is not true at all. I decided to pitch in and reply with, "Yeah, well, she's lucky for not having a button-pushing jerk barking demands at her all day long and gaming while she's juggling everything from childcare to household chores to work all by herself." Silence. He figured I was referring back to him, which I was, and his face went to normal to red to pale. He excused himself to the bathroom, then later things were really awkward. We got in the car and he lost it on me completely. He said I disrespected, badmouthed, and demeaned him in front of his family. Okay, which is exactly what you did to her. Oh, and ugh. I pointed out how he was indirectly insulting me with the "you're lucky your wife's mute" remark, but he called me petty and said that I took it personally and acted insensitively and rudely towards him. We got home and he went radio silent and has basically been sulking about what happened till this very hour. Am I the asshole for my response to him? Don't dish it out if you can't take it. People get so butthurt. It's like the bully. They bully everyone, and then when someone stands up and says something back to them, they're like, "Why you have my feeling?" Like, no.
I ruined my mum's life and reputation. Story time. So for the context, my mum and dad have been married for about 43 years now. And from this, I have 6 siblings ranging from the ages of 42 to 18. And there's also my husband, and we've been together since we were 15. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, we ended up moving in with my parents. We got married shortly after my daughter was born. However, my dad's father sadly passed away just a few months after the wedding. And he had left his ranch-style house to my father. So this bit's a little bit complicated, but my dad decided to give us the ranch-style house, and they decided to live in the little house that my grandparents had built just next door to the ranch. They said that the ranch would be part of our inheritance, and we were completely fine with this. So let's fast forward a little bit. We now have 3 children, and I'm now pregnant with what will probably be our last child. Up until all of this story happened, I thought we had a brilliant marriage. We were always super loving to each other. We literally never fought, spent on date nights, we bought each other's gifts. Everything was literally perfect until my world came crashing down on New Year's Eve. So I literally just returned home from a trip that I'd taken with my girls. Everything seemed completely normal. That was until I walked into my bedroom and saw my mum and husband in bed together. My mum then had the absolute audacity to scream at me and tell me to get out of their bedroom. And I'm not gonna lie, that really shook me up. So unfortunately, my oldest daughter was already in the house and she was getting ready for a party. So she obviously heard everything that had gone on and ran out to see what was happening. And when she did, she saw my mum, aka her grandma, running across the landing in nothing but a bedsheet. Obviously, she was absolutely devastated, so ran to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything to my sister until I had got the truth from my husband. And when I did find out the truth, I found out the truth. And he told me that they'd been having an affair since before he was 18. They had been seeing each other twice a month since before we were married. So I decided to run some maths, and I was absolutely mortified because I worked out that there's a possibility that my twin brothers and youngest brothers could be my husband's children. I called my dad ASAP and told him to get to my house without my mum. I made my husband confess in front of my dad, and he was absolutely devastated, of course. I mean, they'd been childhood sweethearts, for God's sake. They dated since high school. And when he went back home to confront her, oh my God, we could hear my mum screaming. So I ended up telling my older sister everything that had happened. We decided to throw my mum a little party. And let me tell you, we invited everyone. All our extended family, all my ex's family. So halfway through the party, I asked my oldest daughter to go and take all the kids down to the basement and just pop a film on, which meant it was only all the adults left in the room. And that is when I told everyone from both families what they had been doing. Most of my family are on my side. Everyone, whoop! It was everyone except my 2 sisters and the entirety of my ex's family. They all just said I was a massive arsehole for doing it publicly. The word actually ended up getting to my mum's church, and they actually called me to verify everything that had happened. Since then, my mum has actually been let go as the children's pastor at the church, and she's now claiming that I ruined her entire life and reputation. My dad has now actually kicked her out, and she's living with her 38-year-old sister. Dad ended up insisting on getting a DNA test for the 3 youngest children, which would have been the twins and my youngest brother. And we have since found out that my twin brothers are actually my husband's biological children. Needless to say, I have kicked him out and he's currently living with his dad. Me and my dad are currently in talks about selling the ranch house and us moving into a much bigger house together. My husband is absolutely appalled that I found out he's actually got 7 children instead of 5, and that means that I'm going to take away half of his business. You see, it's all teed up quite nicely really, because you see, in my state, all marital assets are split 50-50. But what about the ranch, I hear you say? That actually never went into mine and my husband's name. It always stayed in my dad's, so it still belongs to him.
Would I be the asshole if I left my fiancé destitute? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I might not be in the right state of mind, but I had to get this off my chest. 2 days ago, I came back from basketball, a little early. I overheard my fiancé, Jay, tell her friends that she was settling for me. This friend had just gotten out of a relationship. I don't know what they were talking about before, But I heard Jay say, after all the assholes she's dating, settling for me will be good for her. She then went on to describe my job and all of the perks of being with me. Love is apparently not on the list. Hearing this just kind of broke me. I stood in place, dumbfounded. I don't even think she loves me. For context, we live in a beach house. I bought it as a total gut job and renovated it myself. And I have several other properties that are all rented out. I work in property insurance from home and do house flips on the side. I'm satisfied with all I've accomplished so far in my life. All of this was worth mentioning for Jay, but not how much I loved her, how much time we spent together, not how I tried to be supportive of her goals and ambitions, how she wanted for nothing. I'm not gonna lie, I was in a bad place. Maybe I still am. I spent all of last night going through her messages. I knew her passwords. I just never looked. Well, it's a pretty common thing for her to say. Pretty much all of her friends know what's up. Jay wants a nice, normal guy. After all the assholes she dated, she wants a drama-free life where she'll be taken care of. Every time I read what she really thought about me, it's like another needle jammed into my heart. My first reaction was to yell at her and confront her about it. My second reaction was just to make her suffer like I am. My dear Jay, the love of my life, I thought, doesn't work right now. She quit to be a real estate agent. I don't know, maybe she wanted to learn more about real estate. Maybe she thought her looks would get her by. She doesn't work right now. She also lives in my house. She decorated it, certainly put her touches on everything, but my name is on the title. Just mine. Her car is technically mine too. She didn't qualify for financing on her own, and she just had to have a Beamer, so I co-signed. I can probably make a case that it's my car. We don't have joint accounts, and I thank the Almighty himself, because she did ask. I pay her cards right now. I just want to show her the text, throw her shit in garbage bags, and put her out on the street. Update. I talked to Jay and I told her I overheard her talking, how she settled for me. I told her how I felt and what kind of a mood I was in after. She had tears rolling down her face as I was telling her how I felt. She just didn't say anything for a bit. Then she just said, I'm sorry. It's true when we started dating, she just heard from a mutual friend that I was great, and she thought she'd give me a chance. She said in the beginning it was about feeling safe and feeling like she could be supported and loved. To just be with someone who had their shit together and was good for her. Eventually, she fell in love. She loved me dearly. This didn't make me feel any better. I told her about the text messages. Then she was angry. How dare I? I betrayed her trust. This was a violation of privacy. Finally, she just goes, I can't help how I feel. I wasn't the type she'd go for before. She's still attracted to those kind of guys. She's just older now and knows better. That's why she settled for me. That doesn't work for me. I told her we had a different idea about what a relationship, especially marriage, were. The trust was broken for both of us. This is where we have to go our separate ways.
My 29 female boyfriend, 25 male, says he doesn't get jealous because no other man would want me. They try to tear down your self-esteem so that you can never think you can do better, which is the quite opposite, because they know you could do better and they try to gaslight you into thinking that this is the best you can do. I've been dating my boyfriend for 5 months now, and he has a very blunt personality. We live in Korea for context. He is Korean and I am not. Most Korean women are slim and petite. I'm short, stocky, and recently, because of a hormonal imbalance, I've gained a lot of weight. I am now on a realistic meal plan designed by a dietitian, with my hormone issue kept in mind. As well as this, I go to a boxing gym 3 times a week and walking 40 minutes every day. Today, my boxing trainer posted a video of me on Instagram doing the training, and the caption was, "She is growing in strength every day. She is beautiful, and after her diet, she'll be the most beautiful." I showed my boyfriend just because I felt like a badass doing the boxing training. I am not sporty or well coordinated at all, and he laughed and said it's a marketing tactic. I agreed with that. Then suddenly he said, "I see your inside, that's why I'm with you, not because of your outside. But I am not worried about anyone stealing you because no other man will ever just see your inside and not the way you look on the outside." The statement hurt me a lot because while I'm overweight, I don't think I'm necessarily unattractive. I take pride in my clothing, my hair, my makeup, and always try to present myself as best as I can. Before I met him, I also went on plenty of dates. I guess I want to know, what would you do in this situation? This isn't the first time he has made comments about my body. His nickname for me is the Korean word for fatty, but it never bothered me much until he said what he said. My self-esteem is on the ground. Oh, she has updates. Thank you all for the comments and advice. I really appreciate it. I have spoken to him and have decided to take a step back from the relationship. I want to concentrate on my weight loss and fitness journey, and I need to be in a positive headspace for that, which I can't be with him. Some people have mentioned the cultural aspect, and I agree. It is a cultural issue, but it isn't something I'm used to. I have never had the men in my life talk to me that way, so I can't just chalk it all down to culture. I saw a few comments mentioning the whole K-pop/K-drama fantasy, and what did I expect? I have lived and worked in Korea for almost 5 years. I am very much aware of the beauty standards, culture, and language. This is my first
Would I be wrong if I went on vacation instead of my brother's wedding? My brother Tom, 36 male, and I, 26 female, have never had a really solid relationship. This is due to our age gap and the fact that we didn't spend much time together. And by the time I was old enough to develop a personality, he was moved out of the house. Well, for the last 2 years, my brother and his fiancée, Sarah, 32 female, have been planning their wedding. It's coming up in September, and I was asked to be a bridesmaid. I figured I was only asked as a courtesy since I'm her soon-to-be sister-in-law, but I still took it serious. I have been a bridesmaid for the last 2 years, and just a few weeks ago, I managed to save up to buy the $800 dress. Overall, in the last years, between the group outings to parties to dinners to lunches and clothes, I've spent thousands of dollars. And eventually all the girls in the wedding and I became extremely close and I started getting hyped for the wedding. But Sarah recently got close with her brother's wife Becky, 30 female, and told me she wants her to be a bridesmaid instead. Would I be wrong if I go on vacation instead of my brother's wedding? It did break my heart a little, but it's her wedding and it's not my place to tell her how to run it, so I said it was fine. But I did go to my brother's house to pick up the bridesmaid dress and was going to see if I could return it. Sarah was completely appalled and said that Becky was going to wear it because she and I are the same size. I said that would be fine, but they'd have to pay me $800 for it. That's when Sarah said that Becky couldn't afford it and I should just be nice and let her use it and said I could keep it after the wedding. I explained I'm not just giving away the dress and I'm not ever going to use it after the wedding. After some bickering back and forth, I ended up taking it and leaving. My brother and Sarah tried to compromise and said I could be the assistant flower girl and I felt offended. Then they offered $250 for the dress and once again I said no and returned it. I understand it's their wedding, but they're extremely disrespectful to me and I don't need to deal with it, so I'm not going to the wedding. Instead, I'm going to Miami.
Storytime about how I got pregnant by my boyfriend's younger brother and he still doesn't know. So a little background information, I'm 19 years old and I'm in college. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for about 2 years and we're going to call him Josh. The 2 years that we've been dating have been super rocky because he would try to hook up with other girls. Well, no, actually he wouldn't try. He would hook up with other girls. And then, him and I would break up and then we would get back together. Just your usual toxic relationship. The main reason why I kept going back to him was because he was super popular, and this made me feel like I was never going to find anybody better than him, so on and so forth. Now, Josh's brother is 21 years old, and somehow, someway, him and I started hooking up. Right around after the time I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. Yes, my cousin. I'm saying that like I'm not hooking up with his brother. Anyways. Well, one day I realized that I haven't got my period in 2 months, so I took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. Part 2 about how I got pregnant by my boyfriend's younger brother and he still doesn't know. So like I said, my boyfriend cheated on me with my cousin and somehow that led to me hooking up with his younger brother. Well, fast forward, one day I realized that I haven't gotten my period in 2 months, so I took a pregnancy test and it came back positive, of course. And the first thing that I did was go to Josh's brother because him and I were hooking up way more than my boyfriend and I were within the past few months. Well, we both came to the conclusion that I should just tell my boyfriend that it's his and see what happens from there. So I told my boyfriend I'm pregnant and he was super happy, gave me this whole speech about how he's going to be a better boyfriend for me and the baby, which in simpler terms pretty much means, yay babe, I'm going to stop cheating on you since you're pregnant, but only because you're pregnant. So now my boyfriend is raising my 1-year-old daughter who he thinks is his and I'm still hooking up with his brother.
Am I the asshole if I uninvite my sister-in-law who's in love with my husband? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I, 32 female, want to uninvite my sister-in-law Tina, 30 female, from my baby shower because I think she's in love with my husband. My husband, 33 male, and I met each other at a ski lodge 9 years ago. I was with my younger daughter and a female friend and her child. My husband was with his 2 brothers, 3 sisters, and a few friends. There was a singing competition, and both of us were set up by a few friends to enter it. Sparks flew during our duet, and the rest is history. Back to our first meeting. This was the first time I caught on to my sister-in-law's disturbing behavior. After the singing competition, he and I went to a cafe to chat. The middle sister, Tina, who was adopted at birth, came storming up to us and demanded that he come back to the group. She never looked at me, whined when he shut her down, and she ran off crying. apparently took his sister's room key card and locked them out so they had to stay with the friends in their room. Fast forward to when we bought a house together. We had a housewarming and invited family and close friends. Tina showed up in a sexy club outfit. She ignored me the entire time and hung all over my husband. She kept calling tales of them when they were little and how close they were. She'd kiss him on the cheek, hug him, and touch his arm when laughing. He was visibly uncomfortable, so I stepped in. At first, I just thought she had a crush on him, but the way she was acting, she looked like she was the girlfriend and not me. She was going around reminding and telling everyone that he used to say he never wanted kids, but now he's playing daddy to my daughter. One of my friends said that she thought Tina was weird for talking about how hot he was in his modeling photos when he did print work back in college, and that her favorite photo was of them at the beach in Hawaii during a family vacation. The most bizarre thing she did was told people that he never dated a woman of color before, and now all of a sudden he's in love. It's only bizarre to me because she's biracial, so I don't know why this would have bothered her, unless she's jealous of me because she wishes she were me. Then things go south at the end of the night when he gets down on one knee and proposes to me. She started crying and ran back to the restroom. Their dad went to check on her and drove her home. I knew exactly why she was upset, but my husband always equated her behavior to jealousy because she's never had healthy relationships. After that tantrum, she skipped our wedding, baby shower, our children's birthday parties, and other family events that we attended. I was fine with extending invitations because I knew she wasn't going to show up. She had some sort of mental breakdown and was in and out of treatment for years. Now I have to say, I wish nothing but the best for her, but I don't want her disrupting our peace. I'm currently pregnant and our baby shower is at the end of this month. My mother-in-law called to RSVP and stated Tina would be riding with them and if it was okay if she brought her new boyfriend. I was surprised because we haven't seen her in years, but I was apprehensive to agree. Eventually I did agree and I hope she resolved whatever caused her so much stress. Well, it took her all of 24 hours to start her nonsense. She texted my husband paragraphs at 3 a.m. telling him how she felt about our family. She asked him if he was happy with his life because he used to say he never wanted kids or to get married. She then asked if he thought about her in all this time and if he could meet up with her alone before the shower to talk face to face. That was the last straw for me. I asked my husband if he knew that she was in love with him and he just shrugged and said he didn't doubt my theory. Apparently when she was 11, she asked if they could cuddle and kiss and he said no. He admits her behavior since then has always been weird and dramatic, but he didn't pay much attention because they were many siblings and they all hung out with each other all the time. He didn't run it by me, but basically he sent her a long paragraph telling her off and told her that he'd rather never speak to her again than listen to her talk bad about our family. He told her that she would never be invited to any of our family functions and that she needed to check herself back into the hospital if she thought that their sibling relationship was ever closer than it actually was. He called his parents and explained to them why she's never allowed to visit our home again. He shared all of their text messages and they were mortified. My in-laws are saints and I thank them for believing us and keeping her away. Luckily, she's currently living with them due to her issues, so they're going to speak with her tomorrow morning. So I'll rest assured knowing our involvement in the whole thing is over. I'm feeling more at ease and I can't wait for our shower.
When my dad died, he left me and my mum millions of pounds, but no one has a clue where that money's come from. Story time. So I was never really very interested in my dad's job. He used to just say he was an accountant. Never really used to talk about his day-to-day life. Dad really didn't care about what direction I went in life, only that I ever got good grades. And like when I look back now as an adult, we really did have a lot of money growing up. My dad would pay for holidays, new phones, literally anything that I needed for school. So sadly, my dad got cancer and he passed away a year later. And when the funeral came round, there were so many people there that me and my mum just had no clue who these people were. We'd never heard of them in our life. It was just like, ow! Oh my god, my soul nearly just left my body. Anyway, there was just rows of men wearing expensive suits that just sat there scowling the whole time. And I was convinced a couple of them had weapons. And the weirdest thing happened. So as we were, lowering the coffin into the ground, a guy came and dropped a £1 little coin on the coffin when it was in the ground. He then bowed his head and said, "Thank you, boss." So later on in the day, I was like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I approached the pound dropping man and I was like, that was such a nice thing you did. Does it have any meaning, like the gesture? And then the man just shook his head and laughed in my face. So then we had the reading of the will and I was shooketh. I obviously just expected my mum to get everything. And that was when the lawyer just started handing out money that me and my mum didn't even know my dad had. We've literally done everything we possibly can to find out where this money's come from. And we are convinced that it's not legal.
I, 26 male, discovered my 30 female fiance has an 8-year-old daughter. We fell in love traveling the world and building a successful online business together, all while she kept her daughter hidden from me. We have made some incredible memories together, and she has always been ultimately supportive, loyal, and trustworthy. About 1.5 years into the relationship, she introduced me to a little girl as her little cousin. The girl would spend time with us here and there when back home, and I thought nothing of it. We continued to travel the world together, 10 plus countries per year, and I proposed to her in Europe. We have now been together for over 3 years. Wedding date is still not planned. Recently, I was going through her phone, which isn't usual as we work together, and my phone was dead. I stumbled upon a conversation discussing her daughter, which led me to confront her about the situation where she came clean and admitted her cousin was in fact her daughter, and she has been full-time living with her baby dad since they've been together. Wait! The fudge? Wait, she lives with the baby daddy? And they're... I was completely shocked, confused, angry, sad, among many other feelings. Her daughter was instructed to lie about who she was to me, and that continues to tear me apart. Within a few hours of the discovery, I came to reason with it and was supportive of my partner, and she was clearly very emotional. Now, months later, our lives have changed immensely. No more adventurous traveling. Her daughter is out of the closet, so to speak, and she stays with us 5 days a week, but now my partner's attention towards the business and our relationship has just been generally divided. What pains me the most is my relationship with her daughter isn't what I would want it to be. We are far more casual with each other than I would like it to be as a father figure. This has led to her daughter not listening to me and really seems to just not like me, which I hate but at the same time understand, as she might see me as someone who just stole her mom. I have no idea how to be a father. I never had one and I wasn't planning on learning how to be one jumping in mid-game. I now no longer know how to proceed in this relationship. I love my partner, but everything in our lives have totally changed. Life plans, ambitions, aspirations, activities, lifestyle, just frankly, everything has changed. I don't want to take this mother from her daughter. I don't want to be an unwelcome stepfather. I want her daughter to be happy and my partner to be happy. But I also want the woman I fell in love with back in the life we had together. Do you think this relationship can work? Homie, what? This girl has lied to you for 3 years that she has a child! God knows what else she's gonna lie to you about. You cannot start a relationship. You cannot start a relationship off on a lie. They'll lie to you about this. That means everything is free games.
Am I the asshole for switching to regular milk to prove my lactose intolerant roommate keeps stealing from me? Me and 2 other guys share an apartment together and we split all the bills. The only thing we don't split costs on is groceries. Everyone's in charge of buying their own food and we don't touch whatever doesn't belong to us in the fridge. We put our names on everything so no one gets mixed up. This issue has been going on for almost a year and I'm sick of it. One of my roommates, R, keeps stealing my food. I get home from work and containers with my leftovers are sometimes missing. They have my name written on it. Or my stuff finishes too quick. My gallon of milk, for example. I buy almond milk because I like the taste. But it seems to finish after a week even though I've drank it only once or twice. I confronted R about this lots of times, and that's caused a lot of arguments. He outright denies it and tells me I'm crazy even though it's so obvious. My other roommate and I carpool together because we both work the same early morning shifts around the same area, so I know it's not him. It's always after we get back home and R is already left for work, so that I notice my food is gone. My roommates also had a similar problem, but not as often as I do. I'm guessing because R doesn't like what he buys. The funny thing is, R buys a lot for himself and is even more stingy about his food. He will literally point out what's his when he comes back from grocery shopping and tells us to not touch it. Last week, my milk was nearly empty again and I got fed up. I went to the liquor store and bought regular dairy milk. I drank what was left of my almond milk and refilled the gallon with the one I bought. This was to catch/prove R is the one stealing since he's lactose intolerant. The next day, Saturday, we get back from work and R is pissed. He yelled at me that he was stuck in the bathroom for 40 minutes with diarrhea because of my milk. He was using it to make a shake. I only responded with, "So then you're the one who's been stealing." He freaking exploded. Yeah, he admitted he was sometimes drinking my milk and eating my food, but he was even more mad that I switched milks than the fact that he was caught. I told him I wouldn't have done that if he just stopped taking my stuff from the fridge or at least told the truth instead of trying to make it seem like I was making it up. My roommate backed me up and thought it was kind of funny he got payback for stealing from us. It's a little tense right now, and my room told me R is trying to convince him to agree to kick me out. Little does he know, we're both looking to move somewhere else together because we are sick of his shit. I told somebodies what happened, and a few think that I was an asshole for that. I feel like I'm not in the wrong here. He was taking my food and not even owning up to it, and I want to prove it. Does that make me the asshole?
Am I wrong for yelling at my wife after she blew up my phone with calls because of a fire? I work at a place where we're not allowed to have personal electronics at all. No phones, no smartwatches, no pagers. I've been working here for 6 months, so my wife knows this and understands that she should never try to contact me by my cell at work. Phones are even dropped off in our lockers, and I typically have mine on Do Not Disturb. And before this situation, my phone has never gone off in the locker before. Recently, there was a pretty big fire at a secondary work site that I do work at occasionally. But that day, I was working at the main building. Local news covered the fire before I found out because, again, no electronics. There were a few casualties and a lot of seriously injured people. My wife had been watching the news from home and started freaking out. She called me 20 freaking times, which, and I do not know if this is possible, overrode my Do Not Disturb. So my phone was ringing in my locker, and in the middle of my shift, I was called in by the managers. Am I wrong for yelling at my wife after she blew up my phone with calls because of a fire? In the middle of my shift, I got called into my manager's office and was chewed out and written up. They told me to go take care of whatever was making my phone go off before I went back to work. And I won't lie, when I saw the 20 missed calls for my wife, I was seriously pissed off. Like I said, she knows not to try to contact me directly, and a citation hurt my chances of getting a raise or promotion. I called her back and she was sobbing and asking if I was okay. I said of course I was okay and asked what the F was wrong with her. Like, why would you call so many times? She was still crying and trying to talk about the fire. After that, I started half yelling at her about all the reasons it was dumb of her to call. And when I got home, she was super upset with me. I did apologize for yelling, but she's refused to talk and she's been very chilly the past few days. Even sleeping in our daughter's room. I know it wasn't the best decision, but I think my anger was justified.
Do you have a bestie that's a little bit toxic? Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story. When I was 20, I moved to LA. I was so broke, I had 4 jobs at the same time. I worked at a hookah lounge where I cleaned the toilets and served. I also worked at a Mexican restaurant, I walked dogs, and I was a personal assistant. The Mexican restaurant I worked at was on Sunset Boulevard. And boy oh boy, did I meet a lot of celebrities. On one occasion, I met a girl who was in a couple of movies. Is she in movies now? No, she's not. So I would say she's like an F-list celebrity. She was the type of girl that got everyone's attention, wanted to be the life of the party. And as soon as I walked up to her table, this girl wanted to adopt me. She kept saying things like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. Right away, she was acting like my best friend. It was as if the it girl, the popular girl at high school, wanted to befriend me. I fell for it hard and fast. She had a lot of money, and because I was so broke, she would pick me up and take me places with her. She took me to a couple of industry parties. This is where her envy was showing. She introduced me to a couple of people. By a couple of people, I mean huge celebrities. But you know how she introduced me? You guys, meet my little friend. Her name's Esther, and she's a struggling actress. She works at a Mexican restaurant. I wanted to crawl in a hole and never come out. Part 2 is up. You know that toxic bestie that we've all had? Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story. After she embarrassed me on purpose by introducing me as her little friend who works at a Mexican restaurant, I wanted to crawl in a hole and die. I was standing in front of a bunch of celebrities while this F-list celeb made me feel so small. But she was also the kind of girl that would recover really quickly. She would start complimenting me on how beautiful I was. So I would feel better about her having just embarrassed me. I would somehow just justify it in my mind. She was also the type of girl that would start telling me all of her secrets. And this is when I made a big mistake. I started trusting her with my own secrets. This is what those toxic besties want. They want you to trust them so quickly and for you to fall right into their trap. Well, I did. I talked to her about my relationship with the fiance that I had at the time, and I even confided in her about the essay that I had experienced. And before I knew it, she started copying my style. My first language is Spanish, and sometimes I answer in Spanish. If you ask me, do you want a bottle of water? Sometimes I'll say sí or no. So she started saying sí or no, and I laughed when this happened. Quickly realized that I was influencing her more than she was influencing me. On one occasion, she invited me out with her friends. Suddenly, I became the topic of conversation. All of her girlfriends started asking me about my SA, what that was like, and they started bringing up all the issues I had with my fiance. I realized that everything I had told her, she repeated back to them. I felt like an animal in a zoo. They stared at me, asked me questions, and waited for me to answer. They lived for the drama, my drama, to be exact. After that, I realized she wasn't a friend. She was a frenemy, a gossiping, drama-addicted frenemy, waiting for me to fail so that she can feed off of me. You know you have or have had that bestie. And if you still do, I think you know what you need to do. Self-care sister out.
Am I wrong for pre-gaming my wife's dinners? My wife and I are both 32 and just got married and moved in together 5 months ago. And to put it plainly, my wife has simply not made nearly enough food for me. And this is not the kind of situation where I'm constantly agitated at her for incompetence or anything like that. I would be more than happy to microwave a burrito or to whip up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but I can't. My wife has every single night of our marriage done the same thing. She'll make me a tiny dinner. I'm talking like a Chinese chicken salad with 30 grams of chicken and 10 leaves of lettuce. Then it's arranged fashionably with dressing. When I finish eating, I'm still hungry because for a 230-pound man who works a physical labor job, it's just not enough food. At first, I tried to openly communicate with her, but she always took it horribly. She would adopt a 1,000-yard stare and then begin talking about how incompetent she is and how she can't make her husband a proper dinner. Am I wrong for pre-gaming my wife's dinners? At first, I tried to openly communicate with her, but she always took it horribly. She would adopt a 1,000-yard stare and then begin talking about how incompetent she is. How she can't even make her husband a proper dinner, and I try to calm her down with, "Oh honey, that's not the case, I just eat too much." Or, "Don't worry about it, I can make a bit more." I try to be overwhelmingly positive, but it never helps. She would always just get incredibly disappointed, cry, or take it out on me. Then she'd make the exact same amount the following day. It became hard to sleep at night due to hunger, and I lost 7 pounds in the first month. So I figured out my own system. On my way home from work, I started swinging by a fast food restaurant. So I would basically pregame her meals with some more calories. I really thought it was an amazing system until 2 days ago I was on my way home in a drive-thru and my mother-in-law was coming out of the restaurant. And she snitched on me.
Am I the arsehole for asking my boyfriend to stop being friends with someone? I know how that sounds, so let me explain. Me and my boyfriend Luca have been going out for about 2 years and everything's been going great. And he has a best friend called Tammy, and I'm not gonna lie, their relationship makes me very uncomfortable. So about 4 years ago, Tammy and Luca actually hooked up. He said it was just a one-time thing and they very quickly realised that they were just better off as friends. This didn't bother me. He was very upfront about it and made it very clear that they were just friends now. He had a life before me and I very much appreciated his honesty. So one day near the beginning of our relationship, Luca looked upset. I asked him what was up and he said that he told Tammy that he was getting serious with someone and she had freaked out. And she said that she thought that at some point they would have got together eventually, even though she had a boyfriend at the time. So at the time, Tammy and Luca weren't anything, they were just having fun with people in between relationship. And this had really upset Luca because he thought they were just friends, so he felt totally blindsided by this information. He then didn't speak to Tammy for 6 months. So 6 months later, Tammy calls and she apologises. She said that she was in a bad place with her then boyfriend and that she missed his friendship. Luca spoke to me about it and I said I was fine with it as long as he was clear that they were just friends. Now I've been with my partner for 2 years and I met Tammy twice. Every time I'd invite to something that was a group event, she'd always say no and I didn't think too much of it. However, she then started to make appearances when I wasn't there or I was away for work. So she started to call up Luca and ask if he was alone or if I was busy, and if she'd had a bad day, she would say she just needed time alone with her friend. I finally snapped when I was away last weekend. So Luca had posted a picture of him and Tammy out for drinks. I had invited her to 6 different events this year, but she said she couldn't commit to anything until June 2023 because her schedule was too busy. I said to Luca, it upsets me that you only hang out when I'm not there because it makes me think something's going on. I don't mind them hanging out by themselves, but every time I'm away, Tammy is suddenly free. Originally, Luca said that he thought I was overreacting. Now he says that he sees my side of the story and he won't be friends with Tammy anymore. So what do you think? Am I the arsehole for speaking Italian to my partner's family and exposing them? So backstory. Due to my dad's job, I lived in Italy for 3 years and I spoke Italian almost fluently. But it has been a little while, so I might have lost some of it. I recently started dating this girl and she's amazing. I love her so much. And a few nights ago, I met her family for dinner. And she did warn me that the male side in her family were very big into being macho. They said that they're big into testing the people that their family date and that they're very proud of their Italian ancestry. I think everyone apart from the granddad though were all from New Jersey, but whatever. You know, it's nice to take pride in one's heritage. And long story short, after dinner, they kept making jokes at my expense. I honestly wouldn't call it bullying, they were just making fun of my height and other parts of my physical appearance. They tried to make fun of my IT job until I told them how much I earned, so anyway, her older brother keeps giving me exceptional amounts of shit, mainly because I played lacrosse in high school. Apparently it's a sport for pretty rich kids, and why couldn't I play something normal like baseball or football? Overall, it wasn't a bad experience, but it also wasn't a pleasant one. And he ended this rant by saying, hey, we're just a big Italian family. We're loud and we tell it how it is. And everyone around me, except my girlfriend, started laughing. So for the next minute or so, I replied to everything they said to me in Italian. My girlfriend started to bury her head in shame, the granddad started laughing, and everyone just kept looking around at each other really confused, and then they told me, that they don't even speak Italian. Then don't use your Italian heritage as an excuse to treat people poorly when you don't even speak the language. They all got super mad, but the granddad told me that I was okay and to all be quiet. I don't think my girlfriend's upset, I think she's just a little bit ashamed. But I think the granddad likes me. The word is from my girlfriend's sister is that all the men are furious and they think I'm a bit of a smart ass. And then they said that I disrespected them and their masculinity. And they said it was all done in an unforgivable